Yeah, which one I want. All right, good morning. Before we get started, I want to say happy birthday to Marv Levy, 96 years young. What an accomplishment. I think if we could all sign up for that now, we'd do that, and myself included. So also a fellow William and Mary tribesman. So happy birthday to Marv, and with that, we'll turn it over to you with your questions.
Nothing for Tom Brady yet? He's 44 today, did you know?
Happy birthday, Tom, as well. Yeah.
Well, can you give us impressions, Sean, of just what's happening going in the first pads today? Just give us your, we haven't talked, give us your impressions of how it's going so far.
Yeah, it's been a good camp so far. Still a lot of work to do. I didn't think the other day, not yesterday, but the day prior, as practice. I know we had a day off in between. Was up to our standard, and it was good to see the guys get back after a day off and come back and reset and get back after it yesterday, which I thought was a good quality practice for us. And but this day never changes, right? First day in pads since the time you put on pads when you're however old you were. For me, it was 7 or 8 years old, and always wake up in a little bit of a different mood. First day of pads, and it doesn't seem to change when you're coaching. It's always a certain mindset that you wake up with. So I'll be anxious to see how we practice today.
I think there's a perception that when you get to this level, there's no more teaching, but you still do a lot of teaching out here. How much of that still has to happen in the first day of pads? Make sure techniques and safety and all that.
Yeah. Health and safety of the players is number one, and so we talk a lot about that. We try and make sure our techniques and drills, Sal, as you know, are up to the latest techniques that are out there, so that we do stay safe. That's our number one goal, always. So my dad always told me, hey, coaches at the end of the day are teachers, and I found that to be true over the years. The more experience I got, and we've got to be able to teach in order to get our point across and communicate clearly. So that's what we want to do here with making sure we're using the proper techniques and whatnot.
We talk a lot about your continuity in coaches and even in players. Has that changed the way you approach a practice day, what you do, and what your, I would say, not responsibilities, but the way you engage with the players? Has that changed at all through the years based on the continuity?
Yeah, I think a little bit of that, and just me growing in the job and trying to evolve also with the times, and gaining more experience and learning more. So I think if you ask the players, the ones that have been here for now going on 5 years, they would say all that kind of into one. So yeah, I mean, I trust our players, I trust our leaders, and I think that that makes things a lot easier when you're trying to get on the same page earlier in camp.
You plan things out, but do you start the day with a plan of what you specifically are doing during the practice, or do you sort of adjust based on what you see?
Yeah, I'll show you. You can take a look at this. This is my practice schedule. It's got handwritten notes all over it already for where I need to be, what I need to keep my eyes on, especially first day of pads, so that I'm making sure. I mean, let's be honest, I kind of work as the referee out here, so I want to make sure that we get what we need to get, but also we're taking care of one another at the same time.
Coach, how has the rookie group maybe as a whole kind of kept up with this is a unique tempo that you guys have here, in the practice setting, and I think it's an adjustment for any rookie, but as a whole, how have they kind of blended in and kept up as best as possible?
Yeah, that's where you count on, Chris, the player-driven leadership, the senior leaders on our team to come through, so that those guys set a great example and the young guys follow, and that helps, right? And then again, clear communication. We just got out of a meeting where try and tee up, hey, this is what the drills are today, especially the new ones, so the guys know what to expect and how the drill is going to be run, what the tempo is. Today will be mostly thud, so that, again, you stay away from, hopefully, God willing, injuries when sometimes injuries happen when people are working at two different tempos. So, but yeah, we pride ourselves in practicing fast. That's one of the things I learned being around Andy in Philadelphia. The environment around, hey, you cross over that line, it's time to move, and it's time to hustle and all those things that we do. You can be a quieter guy off the field, but on the field, you got to flip the switch.
Do you have any updates, COVID updates? Any change on the COVID list, and then any other injuries change from yesterday?
Yeah, nothing much really to speak of. So I think you'll see some of the injury things from who practices today and who doesn't, but nothing major at this point.
You get asked this every year, but like you talk about intensity, obviously pads are on. When you're trying to build a run game for every team in the league, what do you think about the challenge of you need a certain intensity, but you're practicing against your own guys, and how the
Yeah.
balance there and the number of reps you need to get the run game going?
Yeah, well, that's one of the goals of training camp is not only just to come together as a team, but also build the toughness of our football team. And I've found that it's a you really can't do that come November. It's past you at that point. So this is a time where we build the toughness of our football team, and you do that by winning at the line of scrimmage, and that's where it's built these days right here in camp. And our players are well aware of that.
Hey, Sean, do you still, with Isaiah Hodgins, given that he missed the whole year last year, the lack of off-season last year, is he basically still a rookie in your eyes? I mean, obviously he's not, but in
Yeah.
terms of what he does out here, is he still kind of a rookie?
Yeah, I mean he's extremely mature. He's got a young family, and the way he handles himself off the field has been impressive to this point. Even last year, what he was going through, Sal. But on the field, yeah, he just from time on task, he's a rookie as far as that goes, or somewhat of a rookie to your point. So, but he made a big time play as you saw yesterday at practice down the field, and that was good to see. And so I thought he got off to a good start.
Sean, we heard Cody speak last week about his experience with a mental health coach this offseason. I'm curious, not only how common is that among your team, but how much does the team encourage players to go see a mental health coach?
Yeah, well, we want to make sure we provide for them, and I think the Pagulas do a great job with the resources that we have that they give us. We want to make sure we provide for our players in every way, shape, and form that we can, and that just is not physically, but also mentally in this case. And so you see the team that we have, the support staff that we have, in especially our development team with Len and Ly and Mark now and also Dez. It's not going to be a country club around here. We don't want that, but they should feel supported and that they know that they have every resource they need. Number one is as people, and number two is football players, so they can become the best version of themselves.
Sean, you talked earlier about veteran leadership. How has Mario Addison provided that for Greg and Boogie and even AJ as younger defensive ends?
Yeah, Mario's back. He looks good. I think he's in a good mental space. Speaking of mental piece of the game, and with that, when you're in a good spot, he's in shape, ready to go. It makes it all that much easier to help others, right? So lead yourself first and lead others second is what he's done to this point in camp in just over a week here.
Sean, have you seen Tre'Davious White kind of mature? He said he can't believe he's going into his fifth year. Have you seen that maturity process? He's got 2 kids. He talks about his family a lot. What has that process been like for you to see?
Yeah, fun to watch. That's one of the joys of coaching, just like teaching, right? Where you can watch, in this case, a young man develop, on the field, but also off the field. Now, having the children that he has and the life that he's been able to lead to this point, and what a great example, our first draft pick, right? What a great example, to be a Buffalo Bill that he's been for us to this point, and in the community also. I mean, you see him out here. He's positive, got a great smile. He leads in his own way, and I think that's all well and good.
Sean, where have you seen the development of AJ Epinesa from leaving off last year and kind of coming into camp right now?
Yeah, Josh, I thought it got off on the right foot when he came back here as early as he did in the off season, and that was his own doing. And the work he's put in with Eric Ciano and our coaches, our strength coaches, you're seeing the fruits of that labor to this point. Now, today starts another chapter, right, with pads and all that goes into that. So, it'll be interesting to see how he continues to grow. I mean, he's just in his second year, early part of his second year now, and but I've been pleased to this point with his progress.
Sean, sticking with kind of the mental side of things, what were your thoughts on Jordan's, I guess, journey through sobriety for the past year? When, how impressed were you that he was able to kind of bring what he brought to this team on the field and still, I guess, work on himself like that off of it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, just because I'm in front of this microphone or I'm the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, Jordan and his situation doesn't mean we don't have real life challenges and problems. And I think that's the reality of sometimes people forget that, right? In this case, he was balancing, that challenge and super proud of him. You know, listen, the goal is to win games, but the goal is also to um, try and continue to just make our society a better society, right? And grow people, men and women, right? So none of us are perfect, but it's great to see when a young man has continued to battle through his journey and the challenges that go along with all of our journeys, and he's come out on the other end and able to talk about it. So I love the authenticity of his situation. It's good.
Sean, yesterday, Mitch talked about a sense of this team or himself recognizing a sense of urgency, knowing that the bar has somewhat been set based on last year, knowing the hard work it takes to get there. But how important is it for this team to know where they were, to recognize that there is that sense of urgency, to know that there is a bar to be reached and that that bar has been established?
You always ask these like triple layer questions. So I'm trying to figure them out here.
Well, I'm back. I missed you last
I
week.
missed you too.
Catch up.
You look good.
Thanks. You do too.
Thanks. Yeah. So, I mean, urgency. Like, I don't think you'll find a team that I'm around that isn't urgent. That's kind of just how we are, right? The standard, what's expected, that stuff doesn't change year to year. I mean, it's a new year, right? But that expectation, that approach, I guess, is probably the better word, John. Of that doesn't change because that's all what's between where we are now and our goal, and you got to have that.
I guess, in just a follow up, I guess, in some ways, recognizing that this group is together, and that most of the same group is also together, that this group knows what it's capable of.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an internal belief, but that's got to be built also, right? It's on paper. I know it's talked about a lot. Hey, it should be this, should be that. Well, go back to 2017. There was a lot of should be this, should be that, meaning not very good, and this team made the playoffs, right? So it can go the other way too. So you got to make sure you're, you know, checking underneath every rock and making sure just because it's quiet and there's not a perceived whole lot of challenges, that you're on alert, right? That's what leaders do during these times.
Sean, I remember talking to you around draft time about Greg, and the narrative was a raw nature to his game. But it seemed like since minicamp, I mean, he's performed. And what are your impressions of how he's done, and what changes or what changes in the message going from no pads to pads?
Who was it again? I'm sorry.
Greg yourself.
Yeah. No, he's off to a good start. I mean, he's controlled the controllables, and that's all you can do to this point. Today starts again a new chapter, and this is how the game's played. So at the end of the day, you either can play in pads or you can't. And this is a grown man's league when you put pads on. And so what it was in college, and even at the highest levels, is different at this level. And so he'll adjust, right? I'm confident he'll adjust. Today will be a learning opportunity for him.
Is he excited? Do you sense excitement?
Yeah, I mean, I sense excitement from the entire team. They really didn't want to sit in my meeting very long this morning. And so they want to get out here. First day of pads, you always want to make sure your pads are right, your chin strap's just right, and you feel good. It takes a couple days to get that feeling, though.
Sean, how have you seen Jake Fromm reacclimate, for lack of a better term, to the normal practice, being around teammates and all of that?
Yeah, incredible. Again, just the challenges that we're all faced with COVID and some of the adjustments we had to make as a team last year. He had to go through it probably as much as anyone with being a little bit separate from the team. So he's just an incredible young man with very, very strong faith, and now he got married this offseason, so that's great to see. And again, just watching young men in this case develop on and off the field, and now to see him out here and being able to showcase his talent has been fun so far.
What about his development circumstances. How have you seen him in that setting?
Yeah, I mean, to this point, he's done a nice job. He has good command of the offense. He's leading with his action as well as his words. And you watch the habits. He's out here early, getting warmed up. And I saw him in the weight room this morning. And I think the biggest thing about Jake is he knows who he is, and that's for young people to know who they are at this point in their career. I think that says a lot about who he is.
What was the thought behind bringing Lorenzo back and kind of getting him out here?
Yeah, we figured we'd give him a couple weeks to get in shape. We'd ramp him up, and then get the gear on him also. I told him I was going to say that. So as many people as that can do an interview with Lorenzo, make sure he's working when he's out here. That would help my situation. So, no, it's great to see when guys come back, and I just get this feeling he wants to be around the game still, be around the NFL, give back, and I think he's a great ambassador, honestly, for the Bills and the NFL. He's been around a long time, played for multiple teams, and he's got a lot to share, a lot of wisdom in that mind and that body stored up over years, right? So just great to see him doing what he's doing and want to still be a part of the life of the NFL.
Sean, do you plan on having any officials out here during camp? I know last
Yeah.
year was challenging with the numbers and protocols.
Yeah, so they'll be here. I think they get here either tomorrow or the day after, and then they'll be with us through the practice in the stadium. Yeah.
Sean, Leslie spoke glowingly of Justin Zimmer. What is about him that makes him such a favorite amongst the coaching staff?
He just is Justin Zimmer. I mean, he's last year it probably wasn't yet, but he joined us later on in camp, and you get guys later in camp, and you're just hoping that they can give you some good reps, and it came down to him and keeping another body, another person, and we kept Zim. There's just something about him, that you can't really put your finger on it. I'm watching him now over your shoulder. He's one of the first ones out here to practice. You talk about like why things happen, and I think he played at Ferris State. I mean, just credit to him and going to a small school, right, against all odds, works his tail off. It's, to me, no mistake why he's had the success he's had and why this team respects him for who he is.
Sean, what are your impressions so far early with Kumaro? We had him a little bit last year. It's a great battle that he's involved with. Can you give us some impressions of him?
Yeah, similar. I mean, his road has been rocky, right, to this point. I can tell you this, though, when he left towards the end of the year last season, he was missed, right, just in the locker room, the vibe of the team. And so to have the chance to get him back here was a big opportunity for us. And so, I think he's off to a great start in camp. He made a big play the other day in practice over here, and he's off to a good start. And he, too, brings a lot to our team that, like, I know certain people get talked about a lot, right? Like the head coach, the main positions, receiver, quarterback, middle linebacker, that's what gets talked about. But there's a lot of glue on this team that that flies under the radar, guys that connect the team, guys that make us who we are. And I would say Zimmer and Kumaro are a big part of that.
Sean, on that
Last
same
question.
kind of thread, Saran Neal has been with you guys a few years now, kind of moved around, developed a little bit. How have you seen him develop and his kind of carve out a role on this?
Yeah, I mean, give him a lot of credit. He hasn't really started for any long period of time on defense, but he knows what his role is. He continues to work at it. I mean, he's a hardworking young man that has done a good job embracing his special teams role, also embracing the role when asked to play on defense. Love his mental toughness. He continues to work at it every day. And, again, coming from a small school, I think that's what you got to do. All of us have to work at it, myself included. But to have that type of mind, that's the mindset I think Saran embraces, is that, hey, small school mindset and chip on my shoulder, and I'm going to continue to work on it. So, all right, thanks, guys.